Alright, so now that we talked about the consoles that I use to play the games and how we do play them, I figured what we do is take a look at the remaining few games I do need to finish up the set. First, what we'll do is we'll talk about the license set. So there are about 15 games that I need left, not including the World Championship cards, to finish the set up. So I have a list over here. We'll kind of go through them one by one and talk about them a little bit. This is as of August 2018. The first game I need is Bonk's Adventure. Not that great of a game, honestly, on NES. It's okay. It's much better on TurboGrafx. Super expensive. I remember passing on it back when it was $150. Now I think it's $400 or $500. Incredibly expensive game. Not really worth the money, but again, you're going for a full set. Sometimes you got to spend some money on them. Second game up is Bubble Bobble Part 2. Again, I do think the first game is better than Part 2. This one goes for about $250, $300, I think. I saw it last year at Southeast Game Exchange for $250 in a couple different booths. I really don't like paying more than $100, $150 for a game, but hoping in the future I'll be able to trade some extras or dupes or games from other systems or something towards it, because, again, I don't think that game's worth that much money. Up next is Casino Kid 2. Don't know much about the game. I have Casino Kid 1. It's a common game. Casino Kid 2 is about $85 to $100, I think, on eBay. Not 100% sure. One of the more affordable games that I have left to pick up. Up next is Cowboy Kid. Cowboy Kid's a great game. Very rarely do I see it. I think I've seen it once or twice in my entire time collecting. It's not one that you see too often. You do see it at shows from time to time. They did have it at Southeast Game Exchange, but by the time I even saw it at the booth, it was gone. I should have picked that one up. Up next is a terrible game. It's called Die Hard. I've seen it a couple times locally in stores, but the labels are always peeled up and kind of falling off, and it's always well over $100. Not happening. I would pay maybe $50, $75 for that game, if that, and it's really to go on the shelf. It's not even to really play the game. Up next is one of the more expensive Taito games for the console is Flintstones, Prize of Dinosaur Peak, the sequel to the first Flintstones game on the console, Dino and Hoppy. It's not a bad game. It's pretty okay. A lot of the late life Taito games like Little Samson and Panic Restaurant are great. I think those two games are better than the Flintstones game, but it's a good game. This game kind of goes all over the place price-wise. For a while, it was more valuable than Little Samson. Now it's less valuable than Little Samson. So I don't really know. Again, it's one I don't want to pay more than, $150, $200 for, which I know is crazy, but I just don't see the value in that game. Up next is currently my most wanted NES game, and that's a vertical shooter called Gun Knack. Not a lot of great shooters, honestly, on NES, especially vertical ones. Rec is great on Famicom. Crisis Force is really cool on Famicom, but Gun Knack is one that actually got released here that I super want to get. This one's going for about $200 to $250. I almost had one recently from a seller at Southeast Game Exchange, but I'm not really a label guy, as you've seen kind of as we've gone through, but when you're wanting full price, the label needs to be perfect, in my opinion, so I don't want to pay full price for a shoddy label. So it didn't happen, but at some point it will. We'll pick one up eventually. Next one is Kid Clown. I'm still beating myself up for this. About 3 years ago when I picked up my display case, the guy who I bought it from actually was locally garage sailing and found a copy of Kid Clown. And he told me I could have it for $100, but I was like, that's way too much money. And now it's like a $300 to $400 game. It's kind of crazy how much that game's gone up. It's a platformer. It's not great. It's fun, but again, I don't want to pay anywhere near that much money for it. Up next is a game I literally don't care about at all. It's Nobunaga's Ambition 2. Didn't play the first one that much, so I don't really know much about it. Don't really have much to say about it. The next game is one I really want, which is Power Blade 2. Super, super expensive game. I've never seen that game in the wild. I've never seen it at a show for sale. I'm sure they exist out there at times and at other shows, but everything I've been to, I've never seen that game. Power Blade 1's great, though. Next one is a sports game, which is rare. Pro Sport Hockey. Very rarely do I see it. I think it's more common than Jimmy Connor's tennis, but Pro Sport Hockey is just one that I very rarely ever see at shows. It's about $100. If I ever do see one, I'm obviously going to pick that one up. The next one is one I've given up on. It's never going to happen. Stadium events. We all know stadium events. It's, just not going to happen. It's an expensive game. It's really not good. It's just expensive because of the whole, it got recalled for the power pad, blah, blah, blah. Up next is Ultima, Warriors of Destiny. I think there's 2 or 3 Ultima games on NES. I'm not looking at the list right now, but it's the one that I don't have. I think it's about $75 to $80 game. I'm not 100% sure. Not a huge fan of the Ultimate Series. It's just one that I need. Wacky Races is next. Don't know much about it. I've almost had this game a few times. It just didn't work out. Trades didn't go by, or labels were shredded, or whatever it was. I'm looking forward to it, though. I think Atlas made this game, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it'd be one it's one I'd love to have, and eventually we'll need to get to finish the set. And then last for the licensed games is Zombie Nation. So I do have a repro of it over there towards the end. You probably saw that on the tour through the games. Really not a great game. It is a shooter, a horizontal shooter. It's kind of all over the place and kind of wacky. But those are the 15 games that I need to finish the licensed set. So unlicensed, this is going to take a little bit longer to get through. Unlicensed is not as important to me as it is licensed set. Of course, I do want to get them if I can. But these, the Panesian games we're going to talk about here in a little bit are just so expensive for really just trashy games. So now we've gotten through the licensed stuff, let's go ahead and take a look at the unlicensed stuff. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the unlicensed games. So again, these are not as big of a priority to me as the licensed stuff is, but again, trying to go for the full set, you got to try to find these if you can. So we're not really going to spend a lot of time talking about these. We're just going to kind of go through the list, just in case you guys haven't heard of any of these games. So first up is the 6-in-1 by Myriad. Up next is the Action 52. I think that one was done by the Angry Video Game Nerd. A lot of these actually were. So if you want to check these out, feel free to check out YouTube. Just YouTube, really, any of these games if you want a good laugh, because most of them are pretty bad. Up next is Bible Buffet. Never really see this one anywhere for sale. After that, we have Blackjack. Beyond that, we have Bubble Bath Babes. I'm sure you've all heard of that game. I think, again, it's like Mermaids of Atlantis, but on Bubble Bath Babes, you actually get to see the 8-bit nips. Up next is Castle of Deceit. Don't think I've ever seen this one anywhere. Beyond that, we have Challenge of the Dragon. Don't know much about this. Don't think I've ever seen that one. Up next is the infamous Cheetah Men 2. I know there are repro cards of it, which technically are official games, but I obviously want to try to find that old clear one with the garbagey gold sticker on it. Up next is Chiller. This is one I've seen a bunch of times. Again, it's just kind of expensive. One of my local friends actually has the box for Chiller, which is actually kind of cool, but that's one that I also still need to pick up. Up next is Galactic Crusader. Never heard of it, never seen it. Up next is one of the other Panesian, Hot Slots. Again, I don't know anybody who owns this one. Super expensive for a really garbagey game. Up next is King Neptune's Adventure, which I thought I had, but I guess I don't. King Neptune's Adventure. Beyond that is the same game, but made by two different companies, which is one of the Aladdin cards I don't have, but it's Linus Spacehead's Cosmic Crusade. So there's a Chimerica one, I believe, and there's a Aladdin one, I believe, and I don't have either one of those. Beyond that, we have Maxi 15. Do not have that. I think that one also comes with the carrying case, but I don't have that one. Beyond that, we have Menace Beach. This is actually an okay game. Not great, but I do know a couple people that have this one. That'd be a cool one to pick up. Up next is Mission Cobra. Mission Cobra is expensive. I believe it's a vertical shooter. I think. Could be wrong on that. Don't have that one. Would love to have it. Moon Ranger. Actually, I have seen this in a store down in Pasco County, Florida. They did have a copy of this, but it was insanely expensive, and they wouldn't budge even a quarter off the price. Operation Secret Storm. Never seen it. Don't know much about it. Beyond that, we have Paradicus Conflict. Never seen that one. Last Panesian game is Peekaboo Poker. What can you say about the Panesian games? This next one is one that I've almost had again a couple of times, but again, stuff happens. I try to trade a lot of stuff for things, and people kind of back out at the last minute, but it's Pestterminator. Pretty cool looking label on this one. It's one I would love to have. It's probably one of the ones I'm more focused on getting of the unlicensed games. Racer Mate Challenge 2. Don't know much about it. Rad Racket Deluxe Tennis 2. Cool name, but again, don't know much about the game. We also have Robo Demons, which sounds awesome. I wish I knew more about this game, because it's a pretty awesome name for a game. Up next is Secret Scout in the Temple of Demise. Secret Scout, not a great game. I've played it a couple times at conventions, but again, not worth the money to me. Up next is good old Solitaire. Don't have this one, but we've all played Solitaire on our Windows computers and phones, and now you can play it on your watch if you have a smartwatch. Up next is Stunt Kids. Do not have that one. Two left. We have Sunday Fun Day. And then the last game that I've almost had, a local store had it, and one of the owners was thinking about selling it, but he never wound up getting around to it. That game is Taggin' Dragon. So I believe there's 29 games left unlicensed that I need to finish the unlicensed side. There's 15 licensed games left that I need, not including World Championship. But that's pretty much all that I need to finish up the set. So what's that? 29, 15 is 44 games for both sides, which really isn't that many when you come to think about, you know, how many total games there are. But again, this isn't an overnight thing. I've been collecting since 2001, 2002. Been actively pursuing games. What we'll do before we wrap up, I did open this up for questions to viewers as well as people who I know who had questions about NES collecting or my collection in general. So let's go ahead and take a look at their questions, and I'll see if I can answer them as best as I can.